Hey guys, in today's prediction, we're going to be taking a look at the 2024 possible Democratic primary and what the candidates could be and who might run and, most importantly, who would win. So this is the scenario that if Joe Biden does not run. I do think that if Biden runs, then it would be a complete blowout. The incumbent president, unless something extremely major happens similar to Watergate, Biden will get the nomination. But this is in the case that Biden does not choose to run or he has been removed from office. So, I do think Kamala Harris would run. She is, she'd be the front runner automatically, saying that she is the incumbent vice president, and many people would just vote for her because she is the vice president. But she's also facing against Stacey Abrams, who could possibly be the Georgia governor by 2024, being elected in 2022. She's also running against Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, highly popular, along with Cory Booker, a senator from New Jersey, who's also pretty popular and African American. Stacey Abrams and Kamala Harris are also African American. Another candidate would be Pete Buttigieg, possibly the Secretary of Transportation. Young, and he could definitely win some votes in 2024. And finally, Amy Klobuchar, who does have this Midwestern appeal, who would have some value, but likely not a winner. And she's the senator from Minnesota. She ran for president in 2020. Going to home states. I really do think that each home state of each candidate will go to that candidate. And obviously, this is in the case that every primary was held on the same day. So, no candidate has really taken the win yet, like Biden did by, many of these primaries. So Kamala Harris will win her home state of California, 55 votes there. Of course, these are electoral votes, but really will match up because electoral votes are based off of state populations, and delegates are also. So Kamala Harris wins in her home state of California. Stacey Abrams will win in her home state of Georgia. Gretchen Whitmer will win in her home state of Michigan. Cory Booker will win in his home state of New Jersey. Pete Buttigieg will win in his home state of Indiana. And Amy Klobuchar will win in his home state of Minnesota. Now, going on the west, going down to Alaska, this is an area where Amy Klobuchar, a moderate, is going to do well. But, she's just not that much of a powerful person, and Kamala Harris has proved to be pretty moderate, not, doing any, disaster or huge kind of liberal policies. So I do think Alaska would go to her. But Hawaii is such a progressive state. Who would be the most progressive candidate in this race? I do think it would be Stacey Abrams, would be seen as the most progressive. But Cory Booker is going to be progressive. Pete Buttigieg is going to be progressive. And Gretchen Whitmer will somewhat be progressive, but mostly moderate, I would say. Then Klobuchar and Harris are going to be pretty moderate, especially Klobuchar. So I think Abrams would be able to pull out a win in the state of Hawaii. And the same goes for Vermont, another extremely progressive state here. Alright, moving on to Oregon. It's a progressive state, but this West Coast I really do see staying with the with Kamala Harris, just because, she's the incumbent vice president, and this is a pretty establishment area where they are going to vote for, the vice president. But in a state like Nevada, we're getting more conservative. So, we're not going to choose someone as liberal as Kamala Harris here. Stacey Abrams will be pretty popular. Gretchen Whitmer I don't see doing too well in a state like Nevada. There's not that special something about her, because she comes from Michigan. She's, sure she is a woman, but she won pretty easily. Cory Booker won't do well. He just won't connect with these voters. Pete Buttigieg might have a chance. He did pretty good in 2020, and then there's Klobuchar. And then there's Harris, of course. I think Harris will have to narrowly pull out a win in the state. I think so. This was a Bernie state in 2020, actually. So, I'm gonna flip the state for Stacey Abrams. I think narrowly Stacey Abrams would be able to pull out a win in here, in a state like Nevada. Remembering that Bernie Sanders won it in 2020. In Arizona, I think Amy Klobuchar. Sorry, I spelled her name wrong there. Klobuchar. There it is. She would do very well in a state like Arizona if they're all, tied in polling. They wouldn't be all tied. They wouldn't be tied in polling. Scratch that. not a super high African American population here, unlike Nevada. I mean, Nevada doesn't either, but they have a pretty solid African American population. So I don't think this would be an Abrams state. But I do see Gretchen Whitmer doing well, really turning out suburban moms in a state like Arizona, probably more than Amy Klobuchar, which really, and that's going to be very powerful. Gretchen Whitmer, suburban moms across the country, I think would turn out pretty heavily for Gretchen Whitmer. They're going to connect with Gretchen Whitmer, essentially. So let's see. Sorry about the map there. I think Gretchen Whitmer is going to pull out a win in Arizona. I think it would be narrow, but I do... gosh. I don't know. I'll give it to Gretchen Whitmer. In a state like New Mexico, saying that I think it went to Biden in the primary. I think it would be it's a pretty conservative state, or a pretty moderate state on the Democratic side. So I think it would go to Kamala Harris. But a state like Colorado is much more progressive, and I think much more of a state that would likely be going to Stacey Abrams. Now, this Midwest is a competition between Klobuchar, Whitmer, and Abrams, because this is an area where Whitmer is going to turn out suburban moms heavily. She comes from the Rust Belt. She really will connect with these voters in this Midwest. The same goes for Klobuchar, or not the same, I guess, but mostly she will just connect with these voters because she comes from the state of Minnesota. She really knows how these voters feel. However, the Democratic Party is extremely progressive in these states, and people like Stacey Abrams, even Harris and Buttigieg are going to be really seen as those progressive candidates. So, this is going to be pretty tough. Let's go to the Iowa caucus here. Iowa will be pretty hard. They have a pretty strong African American population, and I do think that, oh my god, my map, my lord. Anyway, I do think that Iowa, they would turn out enough to vote for Stacey Abrams, especially saying how progressive they are. Now I know what you're thinking. Kamala Harris blowout, right? Well, the thing is, Kamala Harris isn't popular right now. She is so unpopular, and this is the 2024 Democratic primary as of today, if Biden does not run. Alright? What's the date? December 10th. Kamala Harris is so unpopular, and voters are going to turn against her because they don't think she is an electable candidate, right? In North and South Dakota, two states where the Democratic Party is extremely progressive. However, Stacey Abrams, Stacey Abrams' base is going to be African Americans, and there are extremely little African Americans in this region: the Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Utah. Such a low amount of African Americans here, so Abrams won't do as well. In a state like Missouri, I think, strong African American population. I think it would narrowly go to narrowly go to Abrams, but Gretchen Whitmer would do well in a state like this. But I do think in states like Kansas, Gretchen Whitmer will be able to turn out suburban moms enough for her to win the primary here. In Nebraska, this is hard. It's either Whitmer or Klobuchar here. Whitmer or Klobuchar. It would probably go to Klobuchar just because she will connect with this Midwest kind of line of Midwestern states right here a bit more than Whitmer, just because she comes from Michigan, a little far away. And South Dakota, North Dakota, I think. I think these would be close races, but I think Klobuchar would really be able to pull out wins in, these states. Just saying how much she will connect with these voters. State like Utah, where the Democratic Party is so progressive, there's very little African Americans here. But let's see. I could see Gretchen Whitmer really turning out these moms here. Klobuchar's appeal here will kind of die down, but Gretchen Whitmer's with suburban moms will turn out here. Same goes for Wyoming. Many progressive Democrats here, so who will it go to? We can't forget about Buttigieg. I'm not forgetting about him. I'm just not giving any states to him right now. He will have some appeal here. But Wyoming, anyway. Wyoming is hard. Low African American population, so Abrams and Harris won't do well. But Whitmer, I don't see doing well, and Klobuchar, I don't see having a strong base. But I will give it to Whitmer. I think she could pull out a win here. Montana, state that has some conservative Democrats more than the rest of the Midwest. I could see this as, and this might surprise you saying my other states, but I could see this as a state that will go to Kamala Harris. And I will do the same for Idaho. I think these would be states that would stick with the incumbent vice president. In Oklahoma, I think this would be Whitmer territory, saying my other predictions, Wyoming, Kansas, Oklahoma, Utah. I think that Whitmer would win the state. Now, Texas is huge. Who is Texas going to? Let's see. Buttigieg has no shot. Cory Booker has no shot. Klobuchar has no shot. She doesn't have that Rust Belt appeal here. Let's see. Whitmer does have a shot because she will turn out suburban moms here. Stacey Abrams has a huge shot, and Kamala Harris has a huge shot. However, saying how much African Americans kind of stay united with that Democratic establishment candidate, we go to the 2020 primary. African Americans liked Joe Biden, and some liked Mike Bloomberg. Two extremely establishment Democrats, right? Very established Democrats. And Kamala Harris is that establishment Democrat. Plus, she's an African American. So I do think that African American support, well, mostly just minority support, will turn out enough to tilt the state of Texas to Kamala Harris, and that will be extremely huge. Now, in 2020, Joe Biden dominated the South because of his connections because of his popularity among African Americans. You would think Kamala Harris would do the same. However, there's Stacey Abrams. Abrams is going to do well in many of these states. State like Florida, I see sticking with Kamala Harris. A state that went heavily for Biden in 2020. But these more rural areas, I think these are ones that are going to go to Vice President Harris. To possibly Governor Abrams. States like Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee, I see going to Stacey Abrams because of how unpopular Kamala Harris is. Same goes for Kentucky. But South Carolina primary is huge. I think that African American vote, it's going to be very split. But just saying that Abrams comes right next door from Georgia, she's going to connect with these voters a lot more than Harris, who comes from the West Coast. I do think Abrams would be able to win in South Carolina, and the same goes for North Carolina. West Virginia, extremely, extremely progressive, but I don't see them going for Stacey Abrams. I don't see her really connecting with their values that much. I think this could be a Buttigieg state because, this Rust Belt, he'll be pretty popular in, but along with Whitmer, too. So, Gretchen Whitmer has a shot. I think it will be a competition between Buttigieg and Whitmer. Let's see. And Cory Booker, I didn't forget about either. He's going to be more powerful in the Northeast. So West Virginia, I think just narrowly would go to Gretchen Whitmer. In a state like Ohio, I also see going to Gretchen Whitmer because of, this is a state with many suburbs. And suburban moms, remember, are going to be key to Gretchen Whitmer victory. In a state like Wisconsin, this would be a Klobuchar state. She'll really connect with these voters here. They have many of the same values, and it's a pretty moderate state on the Democratic and Republican side. Not Republican, really, but Democratic. And in Illinois, this is an area where Cory Booker's going to do well. He's going to connect with voters in Chicago, high African-American population, but most importantly, it's a highly establishment Democrat. We look at people like Richard Daley, extremely establishment Democrats, and they all come from the city of Chicago. Booker has a shot. Abrams has a shot. Kamala Harris has a shot. Remember, the African-American population is going to dominate this. So, I don't see Buttigieg in it. I don't see Klobuchar in it. Whitmer has a shot. Booker, Abrams, and Harris also have shots. But you might disagree with me, but I think this is a state that is going to go to Cory Booker. No. Kamala Harris. Because we need to remember she is the establishment Democrat, and the establishment African Americans are going to really unite behind her. Same goes for Virginia, this state that went heavily for Hillary Clinton, the establishment Democrat in 2016. In Maryland and Delaware, I don't see really Cory Booker doing well in 2 states, but saying that Joe Biden, the president at this time, came from Delaware. Kamala Harris is the expected winner, especially in Maryland also. In Pennsylvania, this is a state where Whitmer is going to do well in among families, among suburban moms. But in New York is hard. I'm thinking Booker, Abrams, or Harris. It's one of those three, the three African Americans in the race. But we need to remember Booker comes right next door from New Jersey, especially like New York City voters, which dominate any elections here. He's going to turn out New York City voters. But also, many African Americans are still united behind Kamala Harris. Not a bunch, but still some. So Kamala Harris has a shot. And then Stacey Abrams will just be popular. But I do think we can eliminate Stacey Abrams. I don't think she will win here. So down to Booker and Harris. I think. I'll give it to Cory Booker. If he campaigns enough here and Kamala Harris doesn't, I do think that he has a shot in this state. Maybe not, but I think he has a shot. In Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, 3 Democratic establishment states, I see them united behind Kamala Harris. In New Hampshire, Gretchen Whitmer would win here, a pretty moderate state. She would be able to turn out suburban moms. And in Maine, very progressive state here, I could see it going to Kamala Harris just because it's pretty establishment. So, Kamala says I'm not. Oh, DC. Kamala Harris, of course, would win in DC. So Harris wins, but not the majority of delegates. So this could possibly be a contested election if people like Klobuchar, Buttigieg, Booker, and Whitmer whoever. Those 3, though, definitely, Booker, Buttigieg, and Klobuchar, throw their support behind either Whitmer or Abrams, or if all of them unite against Harris, it could definitely be a contested election. So thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.